Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's podcast episode. Today, I'm joined by a very, very, very special, colorful guest, Zachary. Thank you so much for being here today, Zachary.
It's a
I
pleasure.
would
Thank you
love
for having
to,
me.
give you a little bit of an introduction, but can you perhaps tell the viewer a little bit about who you are, perhaps what you do, perhaps talk about some of your projects that you're currently working on, so we can kind of get so the viewer can get to know you essentially,
Wonderful. Yes.
the
Well, I'm
listener.
Zachary. It's a pleasure to meet everyone. I've been wearing my top hat and the color orange for over 15 years now, which is half of my life. And I continuously say that it is the best decision I've ever made because it attracts the people who want to connect with me and repels the people who don't. And in the last couple of months, I recently got onto school and have found that it is a wonderful platform to build community connections and authentic human connections. And so I have started up a community around trying to help people figure out how to be themselves, find the weird that works for them so that they can attract individuals who they want to connect with and work with, and we can all have more of those authentic human connections we all desperately crave in the age of AI.
That's a sweet introduction, man. Thank you for that. And I think as well that's the reason why I'm very excited for today's podcast is because the topic of authenticity is such a great topic. Um, there's a lot of people doing things online. There's a lot of people doing similar things online. So if you can really understand and apply knowledge of authenticity and really just be your most authentic self, I feel like that is can be so rewarding in today's day and age.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you have a school community. I also spoke with someone who was big onto school yesterday, so that could be interesting to see some of the commonalities for people who also listen to that episode. But yeah, you have a school community called the Authenticity Lab,
Yes,
which I'll probably put in the description for people if they want to check it out.
that would be wonderful.
Yeah, can you tell me a little bit about that? When did you start with that? What's kind of the initial idea you had behind it? Uh, yeah, would love to know.
Yeah. So I got onto school when the big Hormozy book launch happened, for anybody who saw that. And there was a free or an offer that he made as a part of that, where you could get 3 free months on school and then start the $9 hobby plan. And so I'd heard a lot about a school before that, but I hadn't really joined, and so I jumped in on it. And I didn't have much of an internet presence before. I didn't post anything online. I was a hardcore internet lurker before this. I just did this in my day-to-day, everyday thing. But when I came to school, it felt like the first place on the internet that felt like as close to like a real human community area that the internet had ever come. And it's something I had been looking for but didn't realize I wanted or needed. And once I came here and found this and started like really leaning into it in the last like I'd say 4 to 5 months, I've been like, oh, this is great. I also see it as like the future. One of the things Hormozy said is like there's the human aspect of society that's not going to be changed by AI. The people still want to connect one-on-one, have community, come together. But AI is going to disrupt anything that AI can touch. This is one of those things that I think is untouchable by AI. And as we continue to see more AI infect the internet on a broader scale, one of the antidotes I'm seeing is authentic human stuff and weirdness, and more authenticity. One of the greatest communities on school that I'm a big fan of is Goosify, and they're doing this on sort of a bigger scale, where like their thing is like, be your authentic self, put some weird stuff on the internet, and he actually just put out a video talking about the death of professionalism, and I think I agree with this idea, where I think in the next couple of years, I was going to say 5, but it might be less than that, professionalism might die in some capacity. Because we no longer trust it. It's no longer. It doesn't have the same sway that it used to. And I see more and more people looking to figure out how to be authentic. And it's like, I've been doing it for 15 years, almost on accident. And when I came onto school, I just like stumbled into a brand of orange top hat cephalopods. And like, you can't, no one else has that. No one else could make this. No one else has 15 years of doing this. But this is an extreme example. And I'm like, there's a lot, like, every person has some combination of unique characteristics that when you bring them to the surface and you put them together, you put 3 to 5 of them together, you'll have a unique one-of-one personality that no one else has, just because they're things that you like and they're specific to you. And so, as I was like working through school and trying to figure out what I did, that came out of a lot of my work. This idea, people want to be authentic, but they don't know how. And it's kind of scary. It's intimidating. It's very uncomfortable, especially if you're not used to it. And like, if I go back to when I started doing it, I was a freshman in high school, and I started wearing this top hat because my friend came to the first day of school talking in a flawless British accent, despite never having been to the country. And he kept it up for a year and a half, and like 6 months in, like, it kept working for him. He was like, he got a girlfriend, and it was like making friends. And I was like, okay, I need a weird thing that works for me. And so I wanted a hat, but I didn't want to be a fedora guy. So I was like, I want to do something that no one else is doing. So I picked the top hat. But then I started wearing like a Halloween costume top hat for like 8 months in freshman year of high school. I looked absolutely ridiculous. it did not work. But I eventually made it work over time by refining the process, and it took me 15 years. But I'm like trying to help people do that in a much faster process because you don't have 15 years in the age of AI. So.
Wow, you've been wearing that since freshman of high school, freshman
Yep.
year. I imagine that's probably one of the toughest places to start really becoming your more authentic self. At least from what I remember from school, there's obviously a lot of like uh, talks and gossips and judgments from people at that age. So how did you manage that? How did you kind of like um, deal with that? And did you experience that as well?
So some, but not as much as people would think, and not as much as I thought I would as well while doing it. Like I kind of expected, like people like come after me and do it, but I think it was like so outlandish and so weird that it kind of intimidates people. They're like, and like a couple of people tried it, but genuinely my response to it was I would just follow them slowly, persistently, and I would be like, "Give me my hat back, give me my hat back," and I wouldn't play their game because they wanted a reaction, they would rise or whatever, and I was just like, and I would basically bore them until they gave me the hat back. And then what I think really did it is I had like a core friend group of like 3 to 5 people who I really connected with, really vibed with, had lunch with every day, and like that we were just our little crew, and it didn't really matter what anyone else was doing. Once I found my little group of people, it kind of doesn't matter what anyone else is doing, is what I found. So that was I think the key takeaway. One, don't play their games, don't engage with them when you don't need to, and 2, find your people and stick with them.
Gotcha. That's powerful. I agree. Um, so yeah, I guess the next thing I want to kind of love to hear from you is you kind of already asked this question yourself because it's like trying to be authentic is, at least from how I see it, uh, the name of the game is not to try and be authentic, but it's really just to allow your authentic self to come forward. Um, that's at least how I perceive it. Like it's something that it's in it. It's already exists. It's not something that you have to create or fake or come up with. So how would you look at that, and how would you say that people are able to discover their yeah, I think that's a probably better term to
Yes, I would
describe it.
say
Like how can
it's
people
it's
discover
both
it?
discovered and built, I think, which is an interesting dichotomy. Because yes, you kind of have to do both. It does already exist. I agree with that sentiment. It is already there. But the process of finding it is a bit like taking a piece, like, I tried on the top hat and I was like, yes, this is me. It works for me. Put it on. But I did have a bowler hat phase. I put on the bowler hat, tried it out for a little while, and I was like, this doesn't work. So I went back to the top hat and I was like, this works. So we like try on different things. If it works, we keep it. If it doesn't, we put it away. And if we just find enough of those and keep the ones we like and throw away the ones we don't like, we'll find this personality and continue to refine it over time. Because I found that even sometimes you'll pick something up, you'll wear it for a really long time, and then after a while you'll be like, I don't actually want this anymore, and you toss it. So it's an evolving process, like a crab finding a
Mm.
shell, picking it up, taking it on, adding little bits to it, and then it's like, okay, we just got to do it. And sometimes you just got to wholesale like redo the whole thing. Sometimes.
I like that. So yeah, I agree. Then discovered is one part of it, and build is definitely the second part. So something that develops. Um, so personally, I am not a huge clothing guy. So like I have clothes in the bag for people that can probably see it, but it's like I am not really, at least right now, it can obviously change, but right now not really drawn to seeking out really expressive clothing in order to express, for example, authenticity.
Sure.
So what other ways of expressing? I guess one of them is in the back, but do you have seen of people or yourself expressing your authentic self?
This is a good question, and yes, I do find there are lots of ways that we can present it authentically. I do find clothes to be one of the most obvious and expressive, and even accessories like glasses and those sort of things. They all add to that. Um, and like I've seen like a minimalized aesthetic. It works. Like for some people, that's part of their thing. Like it's part of Alex Hormozy's thing. Like he's an expert at this sort of thing and is a great example to pick from because you can take aspects of certain I call them genres of personality, right? The personalities we like pick up off of the shelf that like a lot of other people are doing because we want to fit in, so we'll just like copy a certain style. But what often I think is actually better is you take pieces of a bunch of different ones, and if you put them together, you get an interesting, unique personality. So like a lot of the ways it comes out. One, it's the way that we like think, the way that we communicate, the way that we express our ideas is also a way to authentically express ourselves that people don't often think about because we just assume that that's the way that we are. But we can actually like sort of change how we like express and communicate, and we can have more clearly articulated thoughts, or we can like bring things down to like a basic level, or be more expressive and gregarious, or we can be more reserved and tight, and just like these different sort of aspects. You can have a quiet, sort of dull monotone. You can be loud and expressive. These are different ways to express the personality. Then, like, personal interests, I think, is a great way to do it. I love cephalopods. I could talk about them for hours. But other things I could talk about are like uh, physics, aspects of consciousness, and these sorts of things. So, I would say there's a lot of different ways that you can express it. And if it's like some means that you can articulate something out into the world, I think that's a way to express yourself. And it can come in a large variety of forms.
Ooh, and I feel like that's probably why having like a personal brand or creating content specifically is a very powerful thing for people that want to become their, or at least want to grow their authentic self. Because you're really forced to come up with ideas, especially around topics that you are interested in. So, for example, I mainly create content around self improvement, business, but also like metaphysics and spirituality are things I am quite interested in. And like reality creation, I guess, is a little bit more niche interest of mine. Um, but yeah, one of your interests is the thing in the back, which is the, and I'm probably gonna mispronounce this, cephalopods, right?
Yes, cephalopods. And that,
Cephalopods,
to define it for anyone who doesn't understand what a cephalopod is, I get that.
for
It is
sure.
all of the squids, octopi, cuttlefish, basically all of the tentacled creatures in the oceans fall under the umbrella of cephalopods. So, and they're a truly ancient lineage back from the Cambrian explosion when animals like first showed up on the planet, and they've been knocking around ever since.
Wow, that's like one thing that's such a unique interest that you don't hear. It just captures your attention. It's the same as with like people generating or creating content on social media or trying to get trying to get attention on social media is essentially the same set of foundations. You also have to stand out in a way in order to stand out from the crowd in order to attract attention. So how did you discover you have a passion for cephalopods? Is it like you just saw about them or read about them and you were like fascinated by them, or was there a story behind it?
So, I find one of the ways that you can find these things is what are the things you keep coming back to? And throughout my life, I was like, these things are just fascinating creatures. They're, I think, the closest we've ever gotten to seeing a proper alien level of intelligence. Because they think, they have a level of intelligence that is questioned as to how high it is. Open debate amongst scientists how smart various cephalopods are. But it's agreed they're pretty smart, relatively speaking. But the way that they think is so radically different from anything else, like on planet Earth, that it's practically alien. Because each of their 8 arms kind of thinks independently, and then they like have a central hub that like they all talk together, and it's like a collective that tries to figure it out. There is a book series that actually really solidified my interest in cephalopods. And it's The Children of Time, which it's actually the second book in this series that really gets it. But the first one is about humans going out into space, playing God on a different planet by terraforming it, putting a seeded group of monkeys down there so that they can then add a virus to make them intelligent. But the monkeys don't make it, and it accidentally infects spiders, and the spiders become super intelligent and build a city. Great book, highly recommended, should read. Second one, that happens to cephalopods and octopi, and they build a space level civilization. And it's incredible to think about how a space civilization would be made if it was cephalopods who gained the level of intelligence to be able to do it. And so,
What do
they
you
have,
mean space civilization?
so like sci-fi space civilization, right? So imagine like, humans go out into space in like sci-fi, right? That, but it's cephalopods
That
instead of
go out to
humans.
space.
Yeah,
Oh.
they're intelligent, human level intelligent cephalopods in this book that get into space and have spaceships.
What was the name of the book? So just so people
The
can
Children of
know
Time
it. The
is the first one.
Children of Time.
And
Okay.
then the second one is with where it has the cephalopods.
That, well, like these kind of facts are stuff that is just so interesting to hear.
Yep.
Like
And so it's
that's
just like I
honestly so
just
good.
like, oh, there's a book that has this thing about I'm gonna go read that and interested and oh, I'm like go learn more about these creatures and I'm always like picking up facts about them and so I'm like and then you put them on the wall and then you get to talk about them. You just put those things out there and be like you find the other people that want to talk about your stuff and this is as to your point about grabbing attention. People want to grab attention, but they're very often careless about how or what attention they're grabbing.
Ooh.
Uh, and I'm like, we should try to grab the right attention. Whose attention specifically do you want? I want people's whose attention would be interested in cephalopods and the greater discussion of this weird existence we're in. So, like, I broadcast that stuff. I also broadcast that I'm an absurd, weird creature, and I attract other weird, interesting people, and I get good connections out of it. Because they're like other people who are like, I vibe with that. I want to connect with that. And lo and behold, I'm on a podcast because of it. I couldn't have predicted this.
No, that's actually one of the reasons why I invited you was just because we just had one call as like a reference for people listening. We just had one call before this,
Mm-hmm.
but I immediately already kind of sensed that you'd be interesting to ask for a podcast. And you're a very pleasant guy to talk to. Great energy. So like you don't necessarily need a lot of proof in that sense to be able to ask someone for a podcast then. But I think coming back a little bit to the point you made about attention, that's a very key distinction. Is like you have to understand that there that it matters what kind of attention you grab from people, like how you set it up. And I feel as well that that's why authenticity works so well, because when you are being your authentic self and expressing people through your authentic self, you don't necessarily have to change yourself to attract people that resonate with you. So you start building great connections without necessarily trying too hard, which I guess is like a very uh, important skill to have. Is like making connections, and if you don't need to try hard, obviously that's amazing. So um, I'm curious, in your experience, Zachary, have you kind of been noticing this? Like, have you started attracting people just by being your authentic self a lot easier than you otherwise would? And uh, I guess how has that helped you? Perhaps in your community or in your life?
Definitely. Yeah. Well, so yeah, there's two great stories about this. One, we'll start with the community and just how. So I show up on school. I just put stuff that I like on my community. Like the symbol for my community is this like if I ever started a thing, I have this logo. It's an orange top hat on top of a blue sun because I studied that in college. I studied the sun in a blue filter and like it's a symbol that I like. So I just threw that on there. And then, I just like the color orange, so I theme things around that. And then I put together a like 5-minute Canva thing with a picture of me, my logo, orange stars, and a description of what I'm doing. Threw it on the thing. Made an about page, just me talking about my interests. Um, and then just connecting to people through school by being me. I connect with people who have similar interests, regular interests. And to your point of it being easier, so the hard part is having the social human skills. which I think is something that everyone should really like work on. I had to work on it really hard. The ability to like hold a conversation, get ideas out, communicate, super powerful skill, will carry you very far. Then just showing up as yourself and being able to have those conversations, like once I'm on a call with people, we connect almost instantly. The hardest part is just getting to that. And then content is that at scale. So I'm like working on that. I'm very new at content, so I'm still figuring that one out. But when it comes to just jumping on calls and like, oh, I'll do like networking calls. This is, I think, a great example of this, where, there's a group of people hosting a networking call on their community, and I'll jump on there, and everyone on the call is like, oh, I've either seen you somewhere before and I recognize you again, or, wow, that's interesting, I'm going to pay attention to that. And I do believe that everyone can do things like that for themselves if they're willing to put out there authentic pieces of themselves. I think that's the scary part, is the like, oh, I'm putting out oh, I'm bright orange, and I like it, and maybe some other people don't. That's okay. It's the acceptance of that. But then I've never actually had anyone come up and say it to me. I'm waiting for that day. It'll be an interesting day. I'm sure it'll happen. But I think it's worth it to have these authentic connections where you're not faking it. And I think the best place that people make this mistake all the time is in dating and relationships, where we show up to a date, a first date, relationship, and we pretend to be who we think they want us to be. And it often ends in disaster. Because either you keep it up and you make yourself resentful, or you drop it and the other person's like, you're not who I thought you were. That's a problem. I found success, and this was, it took me years and years and years of refining and trying, of being myself on dating apps with the top hat and everything for years and years and years and years and years. But I didn't relent, I didn't give up, and I did eventually find my wife and get married with a top hat. We got married by a wizard.
Wow.
I wore an orange suit that I bought in France, and I'm like, people, it's worth it to be yourself and to be able to do shit like that.
Wow.
It's like, don't it's not worth it to pretend to be someone who you're not, and it'll be far more entertaining and interesting for yourself to be yourself and do your thing.
You're kind of motivating me right now, to be completely honest, to really start digging deeper into this. Because, and I respect as well that you didn't give up in the process. That's something which probably many people would have. They would have started changing their profile or changing their pictures, changing their interest perhaps on the dating app, just so they could get dates and start meeting people. But yeah, I respect that, man. And I guess one of the advantages of the internet is that there's such you could say like a higher reach than ever before. So the possibility and chance that you are going to meet someone that resonates with you is a lot higher. The chances that there's someone else passionate about cephalopods that you can find online is probably very high. So even if you would have, for example, like a school community around cephalopods, you could get people in there. I'm pretty sure of that.
I mean, I'm sure I'll.
By the way,
if
is
somebody
it something
points one
you
of those
thought
out,
about?
let me know. I'd be willing to join one of those. It's not my start, but hey, if someone else got one, I'd join.
Yeah, that's what I mean, man. That's one of the great things of the internet, and something which I guess we should be very grateful for to have the ability to connect with people with such niche interests easily. And there's many other advantages to that as well, not just in dating, but I guess dating is, like you said, one of the best areas where this is prevalent, like where people are kind of imitating themselves to be someone, to win over someone. Um, so I guess really you have to put aside your desire to find someone quickly. I guess it relates a little bit to business. You have to put away your desire to like make money quickly or find a relationship quickly and really just play the long-term game and be your authentic self. So I see the crossover here. There's like a lot of things that you could explore the crossover to when it comes to dating and business. It's honestly crazy. Um, but yeah, that's a very
Yeah, I
good
think one
point,
of
Zachary.
those crossovers, like the true crossover, is self improvement, right? The 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 crossover between the two is to be good in business, you have to kind of self improve, and your business will work more on you than you will work on your
Ooh.
business. And in a relationship, my biggest piece of advice to people is work on yourself first, and then it will work out. Continue to try. But like the biggest leverage you have there is work on yourself. So always comes back to work on yourself.
And that's always an interesting thing because like people talk about like self-improvement, working on yourself, developing yourself. Um, Maybe someone who's listening is like, for sure, I know I need to work on myself, but what does it mean? And especially since we discussed like discovering your authentic self, like what do you, how am I supposed to work on it if I don't even know what it is, you know?
A good question. A very good question. And so often I think the best way to do this is to try things, try little experiments, see what works for you, and keep doing what works. Um, so, like, the self improvement world is huge. There's a gajillion different pieces of advice, and it's overwhelming, and we've all gotten trapped in there, right? So, I found the most helpful thing for me to do is to try something out, figure out the piece of what I liked, and find the things that made the most improvement. For me, it was starting a meditation practice in the morning, combining that with free journaling to dump my thoughts, creating a second brain to dump thoughts into to keep track of stuff, um, and trying things to learn what I like and what I don't like. I think those are the key aspects of figuring out how to improve yourself. First step, try self improvement stuff. If it doesn't work, drop it. If it works, great. Keep it and refine it. Make it better over time and figure out how to stick with it. Keep it. And reminders. Because I'm still constantly reminding myself to do better self improvement things. It's like I've got a list of sticky notes here being like, remember to do the things that we've already discovered are helpful for us because we will forget.
Do you, would you mind sharing maybe some of them?
Yeah. Okay, so here's a good one. This is the one that's been sort of powering my connection with people and putting myself out there and being more authentic online. Is how to be more vulnerable. Um, it's a four-step process. First, there is fear. You're going to be afraid. It's going to be uncomfortable, and we just sit with that. That leads to vulnerability. That means that the thing that we're afraid of is a vulnerable thing. So we have need the courage to post it, and it will build connection.
Mm. And when you say being vulnerable, like can you give an example perhaps of
So,
what that would
like,
be?
I mean, it can be simple things like, I like cephalopods. Like, someone else could be like, I don't like cephalopods. What are you trying to say? And it's like, that's it's my
Why are
smidge
you bringing
vulnerable.
this up?
It's anything that's sort of connected to the self, the me. It's like, I care about this. This is like something I like. Do you like? And then you're like, no, I don't like it. Right? So that's the. Does it feel a little uncomfortable to say? Could be vulnerable. And like, we don't want to go too far. We don't want to go like, what's in the depths of our soul? That's too far. That's too far. What's at the surface? That's where you should start.
Yeah, I guess it also does matter a little bit who you are vulnerable with. I feel like
Yeah.
you don't necessarily want to be vulnerable with everyone just because then you are vulnerable. Like,
Yeah.
there's certain people who I know who I probably wouldn't be vulnerable with. Um,
Yeah.
so, yeah, I guess that's like a thing to add on to that.
There's an idea I've been grappling with, batting around, called strategic authenticity, which is, like you say, we don't need to be wholly authentic, or maybe even shouldn't be wholly authentic in most situations. We should be sort of specifically authentic in various interactions, and maybe even sometimes not authentic for very specific circumstances. So yes, I do believe that there's sort of levels to it, and knowing what level to bring to a conversation is a bit of a skill, something you sort of have to practice, get used to. But we do sort of have a sense for it, right? If you're in a group call, right, somebody brings up something that's like, oh, they shouldn't have said, oh, that feels kind of, it's a little far. You can sort of like feel it. And I think like getting in touch with that sort of thing and knowing like where that line is, and it changes throughout a conversation. And the more you get to know someone, the further you can go in, and you can step up the vulnerability to get a deeper connection with people. That's like how connection is built. But if you don't want to build connection, don't be vulnerable. So, yeah, there is a strategic element to it.
Could you kind of rephrase what do you mean by strategic authenticity?
So it's like there are lots of elements of ourselves that are authentic, right? Um, I have like fun, authentic views, like I enjoy cephalopods, whatnot, and I have like serious, authentic views, like on religion, and politics, and like these sorts of things, right? Just use extreme examples. So I shouldn't even bring those up on in the podcast. Maybe the first episode, right? That's a bit too far, right? But under like in a deep conversation with someone, I could go there, but knowing when to be able to bring up a certain authentic topic or a certain piece of yourself, and what different pieces are like different levels of authenticity. Like my close ones, it's maybe like a level 1, maybe level 2. But if you got into like the political or spiritual beliefs, you might be like a level 10, right?
Like that. Okay, yeah. I guess it does make sense. Like, you don't just want to go out to someone you've never met and start without even greeting them, just saying, I like cephalopods. Do you like cephalopods too?
It's a little
Right.
little odd, right? That might be a 2 or a 3, but like you came in at a 0 and you went to a 3. Like that's, you know, you gotta, and with a 0, you gotta at least do some small talk, and then you can get up to 1, right? Like people skip 0 sometimes, like, and
Yeah, and I
it's a
feel
building
like
process.
that's why close is probably such a good way to do it,
It's a very
because
visual one, very
yeah, yeah,
instant.
you attract people without necessarily having to speak to them. So someone can notice that you're authentically dressed, and you don't even have to say anything, but they might actually approach you and talk about, hey, I like your outfit. For example, your
Yes.
hat. Hey, I like your hat, dude. That's something that's so easy to bring up.
This is a key component actually of why I kept doing it, and I actually probably leaned on this crutch too long. Where, especially in high school and college, I did not have the social skills to start up a conversation with people. I could keep a conversation going, but I didn't know how to start conversations or get into conversations. The hat fixed that problem for me, and I never had to learn that skill. And so I just got to jump into I've since been working on that skill. I'm still probably underdeveloped in the starting a conversation skill set, but I had a lot of practice at getting into deeper, more interesting conversations because I would attract the people that would then, oh, hey, he's an interesting guy, get into the thing, we connect a little bit, connect a little bit more, connect a little bit more. And like, those were the kinds of connections I was like most interested in it anyway. So I was like, great, they bring the hat, do the thing, I can skip the small talk step, great. But I think it is a bit of it is a cheat code, but with cheat codes comes costs.
That's a good point. What are some of the costs you've seen from that specifically?
I mean, so you do lose a level of professionalism, and people don't take you seriously. Like for me specifically, like I do still work in IT and in the government, but I'm like, you know, when you show up to a business meeting at a top hat, people look at you funny. Um,
But you're allowed to wear
so
that,
yeah,
right?
yeah, I wear this every day into work to my government job. I wore it to my job interview. And I like, if you don't want to hire me with the top hat, I don't want to work here. Kind of energy.
And in that kind of environment, I'm curious, do people kind of bring it up? Or are people um, kind of, how we say it, reacting the same to it or responding the same to it as people online?
So yeah, this is interesting. I would say, for like the first week or for like first like couple days, people are like, that's interesting, it's new, whatever. But then it becomes normalized very quickly. And a lot of people in my work enjoy it. They're like, oh, yeah, it's fun, brightens the day a little bit. And that's one of the reasons I love doing it. But the interesting thing is that it's so normalized now, it would be weird if I showed up without it, right? So if I showed up looking like a normal human being in a business suit without it, they'd be like, what's wrong? Are you okay? Have you been kidnapped? What have they done with you? And so it's fascinating how quickly it becomes normal to people, is what I find. It's very quickly they're just like, oh, that is what it, okay, cool. And then it just is. And once it becomes normal, people don't think about it. It's fascinating. And then, like, people will be reminded, oh yeah, it does work. Oh yeah, that is kind of strange. Huh. And then they move on and they forget about it again. It's fascinating. Humans normalize things very quickly.
That is such a great point. And I feel like one of the ideas or concepts that you really have to understand or grasp if you want to become your authentic self and not be afraid of doing it is to realize that everyone is just inside of their own head most of the time. Like, and yeah, people normalize things so quickly. It's the same with like habits. We love the same things that are familiar. So I guess one of the things that happened with you is like people probably noticed your hat. The first time they were like, "Oh, that's interesting. That's outstanding. That's unique." Perhaps the second time already a little bit less, and then by the third time they just, "Oh, that's Zachary. That's just part of him." Like they don't even probably consciously think about it anymore. So I guess that's one of the things that you must have in your awareness if you want to really like not be afraid of being your authentic self. Would you agree with that?
Yes, absolutely. And it's something that you constantly need to remind yourself of. And I'll say this, I still worry about what other people think of me on a regular basis, and it is a deep-rooted fear. It does not go away. Uh, I still battle it to this very day, and it changes form, it moves, it gets easier to deal with, like lifting weights or exercising, but it never stops being hard. And constantly reminding yourself that yes, people are inside of their own heads worrying about what they, so other people are worried about what you think of them more than anything else because you are worried about what other people think of you more than anything else. That is, I think, the most common through line of people. But we don't think that way, and it's insane to me. And I don't think this way. We think everyone else is thinking about us, and we believe that is true when we don't experience that. We're not constantly thinking about everyone else around us. Well, in a sense we are. It's because we're thinking about what they're thinking about us. And it's this weird meta loop that if you just like can break out of it, anytime you can break out of it, it's good. And just remind yourself. People aren't going to worry about it. People aren't going, they're going to maybe notice you for a couple of seconds. Often the most common reaction I get is people double take. They're like, huh? And then they continue walking. And they never say a thing, they never think about it again, and they move on with their lives. Maybe we bump into each other again in the distant future. And they're like, I've seen you once before. But 99% of the time, and I've walked through airports through this, I've gone to other countries with this, like everywhere. People are like, huh, interesting. He's a little crazy. Cool. Gonna avoid the crazy. And you move on.
Yeah, it feels like what you say is very true. It's something that's in it. It's like a fear that's it's easy to tell yourself people don't think about you, but in reality there's still the feeling.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it's the same with like rejection. We do have like a fear of rejection that's pretty in it that plays into sales, plays into relationships. Um, so yeah, you make a very good point there. I guess people just have to learn to put up with it in a sense.
Tolerate,
Um,
I think, is the word that I've been using. It's like tolerate the discomfort. And it's interesting. We can tolerate a surprising amount of discomfort if we choose to. Like, here's a mental exercise I love telling to people. How much does it hurt or feel to be rejected or disliked? Um, every feeling you have hurts less than stubbing your toe, as far as I've found. Like on a like a visceral physical sense. Like, and there's maybe some major exceptions to that, but like most of the time, a feeling can be tolerated.
and I think especially the feeling of being afraid of what other people think of you, I guess it's not when you compare them to other innate feelings. I guess it's not really that big. So like fear of rejection, I think is much bigger. Like asking a girl out versus wearing something that you feel is expressing your authentic self. I guess those are like two very different things.
Yeah,
Uh,
but I think fear fear can be at different levels for each people depending on like how much they've practiced or worked on it. Like on something you've just never done before and have no knowledge about can be profoundly scary, just because we don't know anything about it. Uh, but being able to like sit with the fear, manage it, and just be able to experience what it actually is and get the reps in to slowly get it more and more comfortable over time, the easier it gets. And the more you learn that you're able to tolerate that kind of discomfort, and you're like, oh, I did it once before, I can do it again and again and again, and it gets easier and easier. But that first time is always the hardest, often.
yeah, I guess like it is the same in a sense as with exercise. Like
Mm,
you do grow stronger
right? Like I've
with
gotten really good at this like external outside muscle. It's really, really strong. But there's other ones of mine that I'm like, well, I had one where I'm like on camera and having pictures of me and that sort of thing. I hate it. I hated it. I hated it. I didn't like it. Still don't like it really. But I'm like, okay, I can tolerate it. And then you get better at it, and now it's fine. But it's like, yeah, it sucked for a while, and I got better at it. And it's like different muscles need different amounts of time to work out. This muscle group is really strong. This muscle group is really weak.
yes, definitely. Well, I do have to ask you a question, Zachary, because I've written some things down. Obviously, the listener can't see this, but what I'm really starting to put together is like, okay, being your authentic self is something that is not just important, but like really beneficial in life for relationships, for business, for, I don't know, even other things, just being a general human being. So we've obviously talked about clothing being a part of how you can express it. We've talked about personal interests, which is a way of expressing your authenticity. But how do you actually go about the process of like becoming a more authentic person? Like what are the practical step by step tips or things or actions or steps that you have personally seen or tried so you can make it happen? Like after this podcast or during this podcast, what can people start doing to start being their more authentic self? Like what are the practical things?
A very good question. So I think the place to start, this is the place where I always start, is what do you like? Like, what do you really, what are you obsessed with? What do you keep thinking about? What do you keep coming back to? What have you always been obsessed with? Start there. If you don't know where else to start, start with the thing you're obsessed with, and you're like, why isn't everyone else obsessed with this idea? Why isn't everyone else obsessed with top hats, orange, and cephalopods? Why? Why isn't everyone else interested in this? Start there and dig deep into those topics and explore the areas where other people are looking into those things, explore what other people are doing, and we can learn a lot from the people that we admire. So if there's a person you look up to, like, man, that person, they're really authentic, they're doing something right. It's okay to copy people to try and figure out what you like. So like try someone's personality on for a little bit and see what parts fit and what parts don't. And keep what works, drop what doesn't.
How do you envision that, trying out someone's personality?
So, okay, so say we find a person, we'll use Alex Hormozy as an example, because he's a very prolific person. Like you could try and adopt his strategy. I, don't recommend it, but if you like really admire his like work ethic and you're like, man, this guy gets stuff done, I'm gonna adopt his like work strategy and try it on. And then you realize this is way too much for me. And it's like, okay, I want to lighten up. Or like you find someone who's like dress or like fashion style you really like. Copy their style. Figure out what piece of it you like. For content, if you're making content, copy the kind of content you like and you want to see more of. And slowly, through copying it and putting in the tidbits where you're like, I could really use this, do that. Like, if you're feeling like, I would really like this to be in here as you're in the process of doing a thing, add the pieces of yourself. You're like, I want this. Listen to the I like and I want as you're going through and doing things. So I would start with journaling about what you like, what you want. Open journal, just like dump thoughts on a page. And find journaling questions that spark inspiration and thought. Then take a handful of those things and find ways to put them into what you're doing in your everyday life. If you're making content, put it in your content. If you're, there's a piece of fashion you want to adopt, buy a piece of clothing that puts it on and try it on and wear it out for, a few times. Or, like, write in a certain style, or even, like, I think the other thing is finding groups, communities, and areas where people are doing the things that you like and learning from them. Because I'm a big proponent of the copy and adapt strategy. I think it's how I've done a lot of my things, where I see something I like that someone else is doing. I copy it to try and figure out why. I keep the parts that I like, and I drop the parts that I don't. And I just do that on loop, honestly.
That is a very good strategy. Just like copy the people who are already successful or already the type of person you want to be, and experiment with what they have. That's very a powerful practical takeaway.
Yeah. And here's one more little piece of wisdom is copying one person is plagiarism. Copying a bunch of people is called research.
I've seen that, yeah, and it's definitely true. Like if you take bits and pieces, I guess that's like pretty much what unique is. It's not
Hmm.
necessarily fully new. It's like taking bits and pieces from people and combining them to create something new.
Yes,
Um,
nothing is original. It's just a unique combination of old things.
yes, that's literally like when you think a little bit philosophically, perhaps. But when you think about anything, like how materials are, like this couch, for example, or these clothes, or the painting of your cephalopods, like they're just comprised of different materials at a
Hmm.
first principle level.
Hmm.
Uh, just as a quick geeky side note, which I guess I'm also interested in, is just like first principles or like philosophy. Um, so yeah, those are powerful things, man. So the first thing is like journaling on these questions that you asked,
Yep.
um, trying out someone else's personality, finding groups, and copying and adapting people.
Yeah.
Uh, those are like your for the listener your four practical takeaways if you want to start becoming your most authentic self.
Yeah. I think that sounds like a great place to start for people.
That is awesome, man. And there was like something which I wanted to ask you that popped into my head, but I don't know if I recall it. Oh yeah, I feel like one tip I have for people is genuinely go out shopping for clothes
Mm,
because you kind of train yourself to start looking for things that you like.
that's
At
true.
least, yeah, at least that's how I clothes shop on my own. It's just like I walk around the shop, I see what kind of how do you say it? Like what kind of stands out,
Hmm.
what attracts me, and then I
Yep.
try it on. And if it doesn't look good or it doesn't fit, then I don't buy it. If it does look good, if it does fit, then I buy it.
I think that's
So
an
I feel
excellent
like,
little microcosm of the process, right? It's
yeah.
what do I like? What attracts me? I try it on. If I like it, I keep it. If I don't like it, I put it back.
Oh yeah, that's honestly a great application of what we just talked about.
Yep.
People, if this isn't a beautiful example to go clothes shopping, then I
Find
don't know
one
what
thing you
is.
like and buy it.
Yes, yes. And even though I don't necessarily go out clothes shopping a lot, I do enjoy it when you do it because it's like you really start learning about what it is that you like and what it is that you think will suit you.
Yep.
Uh, so I feel that's very powerful. Well, Zachary, as we kind of wrap it up here, I would like to ask you as a final, perhaps question, if there is anything that you would give as a piece of advice, perhaps, to your starting out authentic self, like when you really think back to perhaps who you were in high school, like what things that you have learned. It could be about authenticity because that's what we've been talking about today, since I guess it's like one of your main expertises, but it could be about other things, like what kind of general advice you have or message you have for your earlier self.
Yeah. I think the general piece of wisdom, and I constantly want to repeat to people, uh, other people are not thinking about us nearly as much as we think they are. And if we actually stand out, do the thing that we want to do, you will be surprised at the number of people who actually try to copy you because they wish they could do what you are doing by standing out. Everyone who comes into contact with me, often the reaction is, I wish I could do what you do. And my simple answer is, you can. You just have to stop worrying about what other people think of you. Because they're not thinking about you.
Wow, I really felt that. That's such a powerful powerful message, man. Awesome. Well, yeah, Zachary, man, I think you were honestly a great guy. I really enjoyed today's conversation.
This was great.
Uh, yeah, I guess you also have a pretty nice voice as well. So perhaps you could think about doing some podcast episodes yourself.
I'm
Anyway,
I'm intrigued. I might, I'm gonna do the podcast circuit a bit, but I've always thought about starting a podcast. But I'll start by being a podcast guest.
let's go. Maybe copy some good podcasters and
Exactly, right?
then you can
There's some good
find
ones
your
out
own
there.
style.
Yeah, exactly.
Amazing, man.
Well,
But
thanks
yeah,
for
I
the
will
opportunity.
actually go ahead and link your community in the description. People can
Yes.
check it out. It's called the Authenticity Lab. You also started on YouTube, right?
Yes, it's also the Authenticity Lab, so you'll be able to find it similarly. So,
Gotcha. So I will make sure to link that as well, the Authenticity Lab on YouTube, for you, listener, if you want to check out his work, his group, and his content. Highly recommend giving it a look if you want to become your more authentic self.
I
Um,
appreciate it.
so yeah, Zachary, thank you so much for your time today. Really enjoyed the conversation.
And thank you
I
for
will
the
drop
invite.
you
This was
links
great.
below. And yeah, thank you, listener, for listening. Hope you took away some valuable things when it comes to authenticity. Hope you are inspired as well, just as much as I am, when it comes to developing yourself in this way. Because it can really benefit you in so many ways, is what I think. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed listening to this podcast. Thank you again, Zachary, and looking forward to seeing you in the next episode.